What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is another new one, r/Tales from Your School. Personally, I have absolutely no idea what to expect with this new subreddit. Your guess is as good as mine, so let's read from it and find out what it is. I'm probably right. Alright, this story is called The Epitome of Chaotic Neutral. My 8th grade science teacher. Let's start, shall we? My science teacher from 8th grade, we'll call him Mr. S, was honestly the best teacher ever, setting aside everything else. His class was entertaining and fun, and it's honestly what developed my fascination with science. I'm pretty sure he is secretly some chaotic entity from the nth dimension, because the sheer amount of utter chaos that happened in his class was through the roof. Almost literally. To start, he had rules, like all teachers, which somehow didn't diminish the chaotic aura of that class one bit. We had to stay seated, and we couldn't talk unless answering one of his questions. Pretty reasonable. It wasn't too bad either because the class was very interesting and entertaining. He taught chemistry and physics to the 8th grade classes, which isn't really surprising once his overall nature is described. The first thing, not the most entertaining, was he established this thing in our class called the 400-point club. He graded his class on a scale of 400 points, hence the name. In order to get into the 400-point club, you had to maintain a perfect average in his class. No missed test questions, no missed homework assignments, etc. If you achieved it, you got a t-shirt and your picture on the wall at the end of the year. It was extremely competitive, and kids would get so heated over testing because they wanted the t-shirt. Mr. S would grade your test as soon as you handed it in, and you would be allowed to stand at his desk and watch him do it. So you'd know your grade immediately, and you'd know whether or not you made it into the club. He did this with every student. Now, moving on to the more chaotic things he's done. On the very first day of school, he was going over the classroom rules when he got to one that particularly got our attention because of the way he explained it. The rule was, if you get sick, don't vomit in the classroom, grab a bag. He grabbed a grocery bag from a box he kept near the door. Now, watch me. You loop the handles around your ears and run for the bathroom. We looked at him like he was crazy. I'll show you. He went into the hallway and came back with a 5th grader who was on his way to the bathroom. He re-explained the rule to the kid, and then when he put the bag on his face, he chased the kid down the hallway making monster monkey noises. He came back into the classroom winded and told us how fast the kid ran. It was hilarious. He always brought a thermos that contained about 2 liters of coffee. He spilled it all over his desk once. Later in the year, he ended up leaving for 6 weeks to get stomach ulcers fixed, which, guess what? Were from drinking too much hot coffee. His classroom is the only one with a microwave in it. He apparently fought with the principal to be allowed to have it for educational purposes. The only educational purpose he used it for was to microwave Christmas lights and light bulbs to show us how they lit up. The other times he used it were for heating up coffee and cheating the thermostat. As I mentioned before, he used to cheat the thermostat. He didn't like the temperature that the school kept their temperature regulation system on. He thought it was too hot and teachers couldn't mess with the settings. So what he would do was microwave a sponge. He would then tape that hot sponge over the thermostat sensor. The sensor would pick up that the room was incredibly hot, and the AC would turn on. Pretty smart. He used to do experiments and demonstrations all the time. He was giving us a demonstration on how heavier objects generate more velocity and move faster than light objects by rolling a metal ball and cork down 2 pipes. He had a ball in each hand and proudly stood in front of 30 8th graders and declared, "I have 2 balls." We sure hope you do. Another demonstration that was pretty memorable, because it involved traumatizing another 5th grader, was when he was showing us why they no longer used hydrogen gas for balloons. He filled up a balloon with hydrogen gas and hung it from the ceiling. He then taped a match to a 5-foot pole. He told us, quote, I'm not gonna do this myself because I don't want my hair gel to catch on fire. Cue him going into the hallway, fully clad in goggles, a lab coat, and rubber gloves, and hunting down yet another 5th grader. He brought the child into the classroom and asked him to hold the pole. He then lit the match and backed away. He told the kid to touch the pole to the balloon. The balloon exploded with flames, like in a movie. Kid was scared skittles because he had no idea what was gonna happen. He ended up thinking it was pretty cool, so I guess he wasn't totally traumatized. He once burned the ceiling tiles by adding a little too much potassium to a beaker full of water. He was demonstrating a chemical reaction with table sugar and sulfuric acid, showing us how it formed a mass of carbon. The beaker began to overflow and smoke, so cue him running to the classroom's 2nd floor window and holding the beaker out of it. Now, mind you, he was probably about 5'6", so he was hanging halfway out the window. We thought he was going to fall. He ended up dropping the beaker onto the sidewalk. He demonstrated all of our physics lessons about velocity, etc. by dropping or throwing something and then explaining why it happened using Newton's laws. I once missed a test question, disqualifying myself from the 400-point club for the semester. I wrote him a letter arguing why my answer was correct and I deserved the point. He read it in front of the class and hung it up. I didn't get the point for that quarter, but I ended up getting it later in the year and scoring my t-shirt. He had this thing called the atmosphere jar, which was a jar filled with little beads that represented the percentages of all the gases in the atmosphere. There was one black bead among them. He used to pass the jar around and ask us if we could find the black bead. No one ever did. We didn't believe it existed, which it probably didn't. He took us to the shop room one day. What he did for the whole class was play with liquid nitrogen. He cooked his gloves, a rubber ball, and a bunch of other random crap that he would throw on the ground and shatter afterwards to show us what the quick freezing does. We even got to eat liquid nitrogen frozen marshmallows. He told us that on the day that he retires, he's going to fill all of the faculty bathroom toilets with potassium to blow them up. He says he would do it now, but he doesn't want to get fired. Anyway, putting aside all the crazy stories, he was the best teacher I've ever had, without a doubt. Just a little chaotic. That is a man who gets children excited for learning. And we need more teachers like that because teachers have the potential to be like the most amazing people ever. As you know, I like teachers, they're cool people. And as you can see, teachers can leave their students with positive experiences that they'll carry with them for like the entirety of their lives. And that could be taken so many ways, and not all of them good, like a teacher might with their student. Alright, this story's called The Great Paper Boat War of 2018. It was nearing the end of the school year, and my group of friends and I were trying to figure out something to do with our old notes and worksheets. We decided to make paper boats out of them. Over the course of 2 days, our group had accumulated around 2,000 paper boats. We declared ourselves the boat champions of the school, and the kid with the most boats of the group was named the boat keeper. He had to carry the collection from class to class with him. Other kids saw the enormous collection, so naturally they asked him why he had it, and thus was the beginning of the Great Paper Boat War of 2018. Teams of boat makers started forming around the school, competing to see who could rack up the highest boat count. Our team was the most elite, being the ones that had founded the whole thing. In order to be a member, you needed to contribute at least 100 boats to the group's boat count. The rules were simple. Each team has a leader. That leader is the team member with the most boats. The team with the most boats amongst them are the boat champions. The whole school began to get involved, to the point where the lower-ranking teams resorted to stealing boats from one another. Kids would band together during study halls and PE to make boats. Cliques of kids that you would never think would interact were united to make boats. It was a beautiful thing. I've never seen the school so divided, yet so united. There were thousands of boats circulating around the school at this point. Our team still reigned supreme with a boat count of 4,000. Kids brought bags to school to carry their collections in. Kids carried their stacks from class to class in order to boast about their boat count, raising frequent eyebrows from teachers. Occasionally, someone would drop their stack, sending boats scattering throughout the hallway, and all hell would break loose, with kids from lower teams scrambling to pick up as many boats as they can and get away. During standardized tests, kids would ask for 30 sheets of scrap paper to make the boats with. It was chaos. Eventually, the boat war slowly fizzled out after a bunch of kids got their collections confiscated because they were distracting. The principal held an assembly and banned paper boats. The kids who still had boat collections continued the war under the radar, keeping them in their lockers and making them in the bathrooms. We realized that with only a few days left of school, we would need to do something about the thousands of boats now stashed in our lockers. We didn't want to throw them away, so what did we do? We hid them, 20 in a teacher's desk, one on top of the TV, a bunch taped under desks and seats, a few shoved in between textbook pages, in between library books, in the sections that were barely ever touched. We did this until every last boat was hidden, as a protest attempt for the principal's boat ban, for the next class to find, leaving our legacy in the school for years to come. And that's the story of the Great Paper Boat War of 2018. Be inspired by it. That is incredible. That is amazing. However, you can't really do anything about that now, huh? I mean, I kind of want to do things. I'll break into a high school and leave paper boats everywhere. That's what he's telling me to do, right? Okay, I know I said it's a new subreddit. However, that subreddit's very dead, and a lot of the stories aren't very good. I had to include a little bit of Anyways, this one's called Today I Fudged Up by Not Killing a Wasp When I Had the Chance. This story begins 3 days ago and concluded yesterday morning. This is the most exciting crap that has happened to me in weeks, people. I have, despite loving the outdoors, never been stung by a wasp, bee, etc. I have no problems with insects. Hell, I'll pick up a spider. But the pointy asses, I'm not a fan of. Bees are cool though. So I wake up and head to the bathroom to take my morning crap. I open the door and hear buzzing and notice Satan himself has decided to pay me a visit and is flying about my shower curtains. I immediately noped out of there and began brainstorming how to kill this bastard. I had determined that the point of entry was my window as it was slightly ajar. I seal the weak point and prepare to suit up. I then spend the next 20 minutes putting on multiple layers of clothing, 2 pairs of socks going on top of my pants, 2 sweatshirts, sweatpants, a shirt around my head and face, turban style, a beanie, winter gloves, you get the point. I was impenetrable, save the slit where my eyes were. I grab the executioner, which is a glorified electric tennis racket, and was ready for war. I slowly opened the door to do some recon and see that little jerk was chilling on the ceiling vent. Close the door, grab the executioner, take a deep breath and reopen the door. The enemy has since taken up a more tactical position behind the lights above my sink. Clever. It turns to face me and opens its wings up, ready to kamikaze my ass at a moment's notice. It can smell fear, and probably the gallons of sweat I'm excreting from being in enough clothing to brave Mount Everest. I'm freaking hot and shaking. Thinking on the fly, puns, I grab a shirt and throw it at the winged heathen to try and flush it out of its position. Success! Or so I thought. It tumbled down for a moment before regaining control, and I crap you not, made a beeline, more puns, straight for me, and in a panic, I slammed the door shut. My mom is telling me I need to close the vent in my bathroom, otherwise it could get in and then the whole household would be compromised. Understanding the stakes, I mustered the courage to open the door one more time, only to discover that in my haste, I have lost all visual of the enemy. Gone. After closing the vent, I spent the next 10 minutes, still sweating balls, clearing the bathroom looking for that little turd. Couldn't find it. I was convinced that it made its way into the ventilation. All hands on deck. Code red. I close every vent on the second floor in every room and the vents in the hallway. I meticulously check my bathroom once again. Under the sink, between the shower curtains, trash can, nothing. There's nothing more I can do. I spent the next 2 days afraid of my own freaking bathroom, carrying the executioner with me like Jesse Pinkman and his pistol in El Camino. It must be in the vents. and so there it shall die. I awake yesterday morning to take my morning defecation, the first time that I didn't take the executioner with me, and when I exit to go lie down in bed again, I'm greeted with a familiar sound emanating from the window blinds next to my bed. Then I see it. That skinny-waisted, stabby-assed flying lover flew under the radar and remained in hiding for 2 days until I was unarmed, and then makes a move. It was in my room, skulking, lurking, waiting. I see it fly behind my bed. The executioner is on my nightstand. I'm without armor and in nothing but briefs. On some Wild West cowboy crap ready to draw, I make a move for the executioner and backpedal to a central position where I can wait for its next move. Mano y mano, sucker. I wait 5 minutes before deciding that I've had enough. I flank around the perimeter of my room and with one hand open up my window nice and wide, hoping and praying that I didn't just invite the whole WASP cavalry to make a grand entrance into my bedroom if it decides to release attack pheromones. It must have been behind my nightstand and felt threatened by my arm because it flew out and landed right on my forearm, and before I could swipe it off and electrify that flying syringe, it delivered a painful parting gift. I freak out and trip backwards before it flew off out of my window. Window shut, I lick my wounds. The vents are open. The war is over, but casualties have been sustained. Honestly, that little butthole deserves to live, so long as it never returns. Edit. The culprit was a single paper wasp. The nest in the first picture is a possible yellow jacket nest, entirely separate, like some screwed up level 2 on the horizon after surviving level 1. Oh boy, you've got some problems to deal with. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I was obsessed with doing pull-ups all the time. And I ended up being able to do a lot of pull-ups in a row. Anyways, I know you want me to continue bragging about my 8th grade fitness achievements, but I used to do pull-ups on a clothesline outside. So I was just trying to do my thing one day, get some chin-ups in, and I guess I disturbed a nest that had appeared in the frickin' clothesline arm. I was attacked by yellow jackets, okay? So I heard them buzzing and I saw them start coming out of the freaking the thing, and so I start running obviously, and then I get tagged in the arm as well as the back of the neck. My arm swelled up so bad, it was insane. It looked like there was an egg under my skin. I hate wasps. I hate them. I wish they would just die and just go away and never come back, or die. I don't care. Just die. Go away. Bees are cool. I like bees. Even though I have been attacked by a bee before. That thing was ruthless. Story for another day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.